Hi there. I'm Tyler, and I'm playing one of my favorite games of the whole wide world, Fellowship by Jacob Randolph. And I'm playing with the Gauntlet crew, which I play a lot of games with the Gauntlet crew. For any of you who've watched before, absolutely one of the most wonderful communities you will ever find. Some of the most friendly, pleasant, and capable gamers in the whole world, and it is world-spanning. We are playing with folks right now from all over the place, and that's a ton of fun and a wonderful thing about Gauntlet. So any of you out there who are interested, you should go look up the Gauntlet. There's a G+ community. You can find them on Facebook, and a welcoming crew. I really think you should look into them. Now, I want to start off by saying that with the Gauntlet, we have the Gauntlet inclusivity policy, which really is there to tell us that we're here to have fun, support each other, have a friendly environment. We're not bringing in any sorts of, there's some places where you go and you feel like you're fighting with each other or fighting with your GM. That's not us. We're telling a story together, and we're here to support and lift each other up. I also have the X card on the table, which is a safety tool. If any of you don't know, it's there to make sure that we're all having a good time. If something gets problematic, if something is getting personal, if something is just really taking you out of your fun, feel free to put an X up on the screen, put an X up in the chat, say something like, hey, Tyler, I think I want to X that. What I'll do is maybe I'll ask to just get a clarification so I'll know where we're, what needs to be worked with. I'll rewind that, we'll reframe and set right off again. I've always said in the past that, this comes with no questions, and it does come with no questions. You just put an X up and we fix it. But if anybody feels the need to, to let something out, we have our chat, we have our event page, or we can take time here. We are all here as friends, and everyone has a chance to be heard. So, feel welcome and free at any point to use these safety tools and, and to be open and free with all of us. We're all friendly. We are recording, but once we get to the end of it, I'll give everybody here a chance to look at it before it's ever posted up. And if you don't want it posted, please tell me. There's no problem with that either. Now, we have a fellowship which is on a great and grand quest. Our world, or at least our little island in the world, is under an assault. A horrible overlord has sent her minions to take over our island. And our overlord in particular is Borgia, Queen of the Countless Young. She lives far to the east, and some of our fellowship have heard rumors that her endless young swarmed across that continent, destroying cultures and subjugating all the people there, those that she didn't outright destroy. And now she's sending forth her warriors to take over the world. One warrior in particular, Crixix, has come to our island with his armies. He has already landed, and we have a map. So if people would like to look at our map, it is up there. And Crixus has already landed at Lord's Watch there in the east. And rumors that we've heard is pretty much slaughtered everyone there. At least no one, that was the word of the few that escaped, was that there was just slaughter in the streets. We have heard some intimations, maybe, though, that some people have been taken and enslaved there as well. But completely subjugated it, and is since then now landed on the mainland of the island itself, and is threatening one of the communities there on the coast. Another thing we've heard that Crixus is doing is searching for a source of power, which on our map we will see that there is a little lake down on the southeast corner, kind of in that valley, has some little villages around it, and that lake, which our fellowship, members of our fellowship, have informed us, in the center of that lake, well, Haley, why don't you describe it, since it was our pair that commanded lore on it to begin with?
Yes. if I recall correctly, at the center of the lake, underneath the grime and filth that you see atop the water, there is a perfectly clear reflection of the stars and the sun and the constellations turning about each other. And we are heading into an eclipse, and it is said that anyone who bathes in the water at the exact moment of the eclipse will gain strange powers.
And so Crixus has, in service to his queen, has come and brought forces, and the rumor was that it was moving in to try and take this source of power away. For our mechanical purposes, a source of power is equivalent to a stat of the Overlord, and the Overlord has 3 stats. Our particular Overlord has the stat of Insidious Venom, Flawless Chitin, and Endless Spawn. Each of these are completely true, right up to the moment y'all figure a way that they can be overcome, and then they're completely false. If my Overlord runs out of stats, then they've been defeated and probably fall into some horrible hell dimension, or, get stuck in a giant mirror floating through space, or whatever occurs in the case of a villain being destroyed. However, if the Overlord grabs more sources, they get more stats, and so those begin to stack up, making it much tougher. But if you guys manage to get a source that has not been claimed by the Overlord, that too will take away one of the Overlord's stats. So this lake we're looking at now, if the Overlord gets it, we'll give her 4. If you guys get it, we'll take her down to 2. We'll see how that goes. I will not relinquish my source of power easily. But we had decided, the Fellowship had decided, that going and trying to stop Crixus at this lake was to be their first task, and so they had traveled across the land to get there. And we had ended our last session with them looking from the hills above down into the valley, seeing Crixus and his enormous army, thousands of troops, and they all act, I think I described them like a school of fish or a flock of birds, just synchronous sort of movement amongst them as they are piling this earthen rampart, moving it out into the lake to get him to the center, one would guess. The eclipse is mere nights away, probably no more than 2. I think we'll go with 2. That's a nice, good time clock for us. And that's where we left off. But I think it'll be interesting to hear what the Fellowship is like. So why don't we start with you, Ryan? Tell us a little bit introduce yourself and tell us your character.
Hi, I'm Ryan, and I'm playing Vero, swallowed by the dragon Dimethaz and crawled back out. That claim is absolutely true. Spiders are known for never lying about anything, so why would you doubt me? Vero uses she, her, or they, them pronouns. She doesn't really care all that much. Spider gender is odd, and spiders are generally kind of mythical creatures in this world. We keep to ourselves fairly much. This part, and just generally don't get out a lot, which also sort of explains why my approach is pretty weird most of the time. I've got a fuzzy black spider body, a kind of grayish humanoid torso, 8 eyes, elaborate black black braid, I can talk, and a beautiful silk tunic with kind of, you might call it a saddle blanket if it was on a horse, but it's on a giant spider, so there's not a good word for that.
Excellent. And want to give us tell us what your move is, your special moves as a spider.
Oh, sure. All spiders can walk on walls, but since I'm Tauric, I've got kind of humanoid torso and big spider butt. I can use my hands while I'm walking on walls because I have an excess of limbs. And I have the Weaver specialties, meaning that I can produce infinite silk rope. It's great, it's durable and flexible, and it's a little disturbingly sticky because, hey, spider webs. And I am a predator, meaning that I can gain webs by looking at anything closely. And webs are sort of my ability to always have considered this already and set up traps because, you know, I'm a spider. I'm always thinking a bit ahead.
Very cunning. All right, Haley, would you like to introduce our pair?
Absolutely. So I am playing the Fated Pair, which is made up of Aya and Freya. And they are elves. They look like children of about 14 or 15 years of age, with dark skin and dark braided hair. And they were conjoined and separated at birth. So both of them have got a scar down the side of their face on opposite sides where they were separated. And they are also, one of their arms only goes up to the elbow where they were separated as well. And they belong to a, so the pair, instead of coming from like a species or a race or of creature that you spout lore about, belong to a organization, and they belong to sort of like a magical, ritualistic organization that has sort of disappeared underground and is now resurfacing. And in terms of moves, the basic pair thing, which takes up like nearly all of my moves, is their ability to work together as one unit. And they can also split up and work separately, but they're not very good at doing that. The other special move that I've got is Heroes of the People, which means basically they're quite good at talking to people and soothing them and getting the answers they need out of them by speaking softly. Awesome.
Thank you. And Alex, would you like to introduce our dragon?
Would I? So, I am playing the Menethith, Child of Lava. You can call them Thith if you really want to, but they will hold it against you, so. In appearance, they look like a ginormous, like, skink or gecko, standing, like, slightly taller than a human child, walking on two legs, with, like, a dark red and orange coloration, and it's good for, like, frill-like wings that, like, pop out of the sides whenever they want to fly. Yeah, they were born and raised on, I don't have a name for it, so let's call it Lava Island. They grew up, met the squire, who unfortunately isn't here, and their pet Komodo dragon, who I forgot the name of, Arimatrarier, because who likes pronounceable names?
And you went up a level, so what moves do you have all told? You have a bunch of moves.
I have too many moves. So, yeah, the first dragon move I have is Champion of Fire, which basically means I get 4 moves. And those 4 moves plus 1, because of the level up, are through the Fire and Flames, immune to damage from fire and heat, can just like swim through lava, yeah, and Dragon Fire. Listen here, you little punk. When you talk sense by telling them what will happen to them if they do not do as you ask, talk sense with blood, and on a, I'm not sure what that says, I imagine 7 to 9, they cannot ask their favor of you until they have done what you ask of them. Strength of 100, because, you know, dragons are just so strong. You can pick up anything and anyone you can firmly grasp with at least one hand. Wings of a dragon. Fly on large, powerful, terms and conditions may apply wings. You require a running start, a fair bit of room. You cannot hover in place. You can fly very far and very fast. And then dragon magic, which is definitely magic. Definitely magic, okay? You got it? Good. Call upon draconic power. Choose a spell. Blessing of Speed is destroy a wall or door. But strength, sorry. Blessing of Speed. Instantly appear somewhere close by that you can see. No one will see how you move there. And Blessing of Glory. for someone to listen to you when you talk sense to them.
Excellent. And just for that 9 minus, what that means is even with a, 2 to 6, they're still going to do what you ask. They're just going to want that favor. Of course, with that 6 or lower, I have an opportunity to do a move on you, a hard move on you. But,
nice.
But it's always going to work. All right. Now, Brendan, maybe we could hear about your orc.
So I am playing Sneeze, who is a large, chubby mushroom man with beady eyes and a large chain necklace, who has a little companion known as Sniff, who's basically a growth on his shoulder.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. So, looking over your playbook, have you had a chance to pick your stats? You'll see there's a stat array there. I think your blood starts at 2, and then you'll pick the rest.
Yeah.
And we have your agenda. What agenda? Go ahead and read your 3 starting agendas and tell us what 4th one you chose.
So I've got the 3: be brave, take risks, tell us of your people, improve the world around you, and I have taken capitalism ho, seek a profit no matter the cost.
Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic. And on that, what is an orc? What did you choose there?
So Spawn of Darkness, they're all basically mushroom people. Let me just read the... Your people are fungal in nature, well suited to the darkness and damp. You can see perfectly in the dark, and your body is quite unlike those of flesh and blood. The drunk tag never applies to you, and you are immune to poisons and diseases that would harm anyone else.
Ooh, that's very cool. All right, and want to read off real quick your orcish core that you start with.
Cool. So the fires of industry. As long as you have a minute's time and destroy something in the process, you can craft an orc-made weapon of your own design. Orc-made weapons are clumsy in any hand but an orc's, and they are ugly to all but orcs. The weapon is melee. Weapons you make are not added to your gear. They are temporary and must be replaced when they are lost or damaged. You cannot carry more than 4 weapons you've made at a single time, but you can restock weaponry between scenes as you like. When you share this move with another, they gain an appreciation of the utility or simplicity of the orc-made weaponry. Orc-made weapons are not clumsy in the hands of those with this move.
Nice.
My other core move is Dishonor Before Death. When you need an advantage to finish them within glorious combat, you can always create one by breaking your weapon. When you must pay a price, you may always choose to break your weapon.
That's excellent. Cool, cool, cool. And what custom did you choose?
So was it 2 moves for the custom, right?
Yep, you get to choose 2.
So I've got Smell Fear. When you look closely at a person, so closely it makes them upset, uncomfortable, or scared, you may ask questions from both the Speak Softly and Look Closely lists, and you can ask one more question than your roll would normally allow.
Oh, that's really cool.
And Iron Stomach. You can eat things no one else would ever try to. When you fill your belly, you may spend uses from anything as if they had the food tag.
Oh, that's great. Super cool. All right. And just so I'm positive of this, Snaz, is that his name?
Which, sorry?
What is your character's name?
Sneeze.
Sneeze. All right.
Because that's what he makes people do when he's around them.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. And your sidekick was, what was his name?
Sniff. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, that's so cool. And want to tell us your picks that you did for your gear?
Yep. So just put that back. So I've got Strange Jerky is a food for 3 uses. 2 orc-made weapons. Something you found over there somewhere, 2 uses useful. Sniff, my little guy best friend. Some loot, which is 1 use precious. And then I took Cunning as Can Be, 2 uses. When I look closely, I can ask 1 question with no roll.
Oh, that's cool too. Ooh, you're going to be a questioning machine. That's going to be excellent. All right, nifty. Well, let's build some bonds. So before we build bonds for you, the fellowship starts off kind of knowing each other. We don't do we all meet at the inn and go deal with our first adventure killing rats in a basement or anything. We all are aware of each other and have adventured together before. So when our fellowship first went down south to do with this, you just didn't happen to be in town at the moment. You had been doing something at home, and we could find out. You could tell us what that is here in a moment. But we're going to set up some bonds that you have, and you have 4 bonds that you get to make with the other members of the fellowship. And like I say, what I'm going to do is we'll do a bond forging moment, and we'll let the others get one with you then.
Cool.
So what would you like to offer out there for bonds for your fellows?
I'd know the smell of blank anywhere.
Who do you think that is, or is there someone who'd like to volunteer for that? I'll say that there's certainly the sort of odd crew that are distinctive.
Yeah, I could be down for that if no one else wants it.
Sound good?
Cool.
All right. So Theth, you could recognize the smell of Theth anywhere.
I imagine it's a lot of burning.
Next bond?
Blank and I used to fight all the time, but we can't remember why.
Well, that's a cool one. Anybody want to step up to that one?
I'll take that one because I have no idea what we fought all the time. So that works for me.
Do we think that now we know that the spiders have a bit of up in the crags, but I get the feel like kind of in caves and stuff like that too? So do we think that there, before even the fellowship was formed, the two of you had run-ins? How does that sound to you, Brendan? Or to you, Ryan?
True. Yeah, we could totally have both been the kind of creepy cave dwelly people who encountered each other beforehand. If that works for you.
Yeah, we have the ground, you have the roof. We just don't like when you come down the wall.
We have everything. I don't know why you think you get any of it.
And hence the reason y'all fought. Excellent. All right, next bond.
I'm going to go, I have destroyed something that blank loved and I seek their forgiveness.
Ooh. Anyone want to take that?
I'm happy to grab that one since I haven't got one yet. I'm loving that the pair's bonds with everyone except Sebastian are like quite antagonistic.
So, what do we think that thing was?
It could have been any kind of magical paraphernalia. Maybe it was like the last remaining thing we had from our mentor who got killed by the Overlord.
If it was shiny, then yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Very shiny, glowing. It's like I think they were like stones for communication, like speaking stone, it wasn't useful anymore because our mentor is dead, so can't talk to them with it. But the only thing we have to remember them by, really.
Excellent. Cool. That's very nice. And Sneeze, do you know this was precious to them? Was it an accident that you broke it?
No, I was going to sell it.
But now it's but you wish their forgiveness. What made you have this change of heart?
I got hungry and ate it instead, and I realized I pretty much took it for no reason.
All right. I could see why that made some hard feelings.
Hmm.
Huh. All righty. Well then, and I think for your last bond, why don't we hold that in reserve until we have our squire here?
Cool.
Sound good? Okay. And that way we can have one for you and Sid to get a chance to exchange off of once he's here for our next one. All right. Looking on our map, where do you think you come from, Sneeze? Where? I will say that, as you can see, Brian has put up the Spider Mountains areas over there in the northwest. So some of your people can be from there. You could be from there as well, but you could have traveled or whatever. Tell us a little bit about what being in orc territory is like. Where did they hole up, and what does it look like, their civilization?
Well, the dead fields look very sexy, so I'm going to say, yeah, right on that sort of cusp.
Excellent.
I imagine the orc sort of territory is not very well lit at all, if they use any light whatsoever. And probably involves a lot of sitting around in circles and not talking. Just sort of digging into the earth and soaking up a lot of moisture.
Cool.
And I guess, yeah, because it is, I'd imagine it's quite resource deprived, the area, which might make sense why there's that general sort of drive for him to have, or them to get resources and shiny things and try and make money and all that.
Cool. And since you're trying to turn that profit, is that for you personally, or do you intend to come back to your people with it? How do you see this sort of desire to gain?
It's just a cycle of consuming, really.
Okay. Interesting. And I'm interested to know, how long do the orcs? Are you a long-lived race? Are you short-lived?
I would say yes, long-lived, but we spend a lot of time doing nothing, so we develop very slowly.
Cool. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Well, as I said, we had ended up last time having looked across the valley towards the lake and seen Crix's army busily working on things. And our fellowship had sort of, looking down at it, had stopped a moment, had refreshed themselves to prepare, to make plans, to think about what they were wanting to do. Where have you been, Sneeze, while the fellowship went and did this? Now, we're going to get you to them here in a moment, but what have you been doing?
So we're down at the lake, down...
We're on the mountains looking across towards the lake. I wonder if I can...
Okay. On the map. And what was the way to traveling there?
We had traveled by land. In fact, they had followed the roads down, had crossed over the mountains with some difficulty, gone through that forest there. They had come from the big city in the middle, Korobam, and had traveled south. And they had gotten lost in the woods, but had managed to find a way out of it. They had encountered a ghost town, which all the people had disappeared. All that remained was, it was like their food. And so they just disappeared. And I believe our spider had seen some telltale signs that were a little disturbing there. of some spider webs. But we had then reached those mountains overlooking the valley with the lake, and we are there looking out across the valley now.
I think Sneeze might have actually gone to the mountains for a sort of colonial outpost that's been spreading there for the last couple 100 years at least, to just make some sort of contact that hasn't happened in God knows how long because of his people's general apathy towards anything like that, and to spread his own spores among the sort of populace.
Cool. When you got there, what did you find? Were they there? Had this outpost remained?
Yeah, I want to say they were there.
Were they glad to see you?
I don't think that's the general sort of reaction my people have in general. I think it would have been almost like being in the exact same place as home. Like, because they're so generally slow developing and moving. It was almost like the names were interchangeable, and that was about it.
Okay. And so you'd gotten there, you found this outpost still intact, you had communicated with them as you do. Did you try to warn them about the Overlord and her general here? Did you try to rally them, or did you just leave them be in their quiet growth?
I think I warned them about the Overlord, and they're still orcs, so they were quite happy to start picking up on weapons and everything. It's just going to take them a long time to actually get around to doing anything about it.
Cool. I like that. And then you have one last bond that you need to pick, and that is your bond with the Overlord. And I don't know if you have the Overlord's playbook up. I could pull it up.
Okay. So yeah, I've got it in front of me now.
Cool. You'll see an Overlord bonds. You get to pick something there. And what we currently have, as you're looking down it, I killed someone important to the pair. And you've heard a bit of their mentor had gone over to the Queen's continent and had been captured and killed. And that something was stolen, something very dear to the pair from their mentor, and now the Queen has it. We have Vero's people, the spiders, serve me now. So the spiders have been corrupted by the Overlord. I have fought Sebastian, our squire, before, and left a wound upon them. It burns in my presence. And Sebastian, the squire, was just a mere little sprig of a lad when encountered the Queen in one of her forms, and had scared and put the Harry Potter scar on Sebastian. And this had played to Theth was once my friend. When this happened, Theth decided that this Queen was not a friend anymore and had taken the young squire under their wing, so to speak. And that has made a very close association, the squire and the dragon, even though their relative ages have now sort of changed. Our dragon has gotten very little older in the scale of dragons, but it's been like 25 years, 20 years since this happened, so our squire is now the more mature of the two. Some might say. So which of those do you think the Overlord has with you?
I think I'm going to go with Sneeze secretly admires me in the things I do.
So looking at the Overlord and how she sort of just moves across and takes everything, there's something in that Sneeze finds worthy of admiration.
Absolutely.
All
and
right.
being able to do it in a relatively short and productive time span.
Nice. Bonds work with the Overlord in that I can use them to do mean things to you, and you could kind of use them in opportunities to get the Overlord to, say, not kill you, or speak a little, talk a little monologue out at you to give you information, or that sort of thing. And so when they come up, you can call on that bond and use it in that fashion. And as I'll use it occasionally to do rough things to you. So we'll keep those in mind when it comes up. So I think we're going to have that as the Fellowship is looking down upon this army, to avoid too much of an issue of getting the party together, I think we're going to hear voices. What do orcs sound like, Sneeze? What sort of language do they have?
It's like a really slow Cockney.
Then, let's see. I think probably our pair would be the ones that are the most on alert at this point. And you begin to hear these slow, sombrous voices coming from a crevice here in the mountains.
I think Iron Freya get up without notifying anybody of what they're doing, and quietly slip away towards the crevice with Chew, their blue ethereal dog, sort of like following them at their heels with like the same expression on its face as they have.
Excellent. As you reach this crevice, you can kind of look through to see several, I'd say probably 4 or 5 of these orcs that have, they've got weapons and are rather, having been put to alert, have at least moved to the entrance to make guard. That they probably aren't, rallying out or anything, but they've at least guarded an entrance here. Are you trying to track their attention, or are you trying to be sneaky?
Can I see Sneeze? Oh, can we see Sneeze, I guess?
Sneeze, you think you're out there at the head of your, at the entrance, or are you deeper down? You will have probably heard rumors that at least rumors that the Fellowship was moving to the south, though you wouldn't have known where they are.
Yeah, I think I'm probably actually at the gate. And I'm attempting to gamble for some of the other guards' foods.
That and Freya, I think you see Sneeze there amongst these orcs.
Yeah, I think Freya, so Iron Freya has these tattoos on their forehead that glow when they're physical proximity to each other and using their magic. And I think Freya's tattoo starts glowing, and she lifts up in the air a little bit, and turns to face Sneeze, and her eyes are glowing a bit blue, and she's like, "Sneeze, we must make preparations."
I look over my shoulder, or Sneeze looks over their shoulder towards one of the other mushrooms, and then back at the one he's trying to hustle, and then back to the one behind him, and it's just like, "Are you trying to hustle me?"
So you turn back to these guards, and they're they're like, no, sort of thing. And I am afraid, looking at them, you can't imagine how any of them would do, say, sleight of hand fast enough to trick someone, but...
I think, like, they just wait to be responded to. Kind of like a parent that's telling off a child and is like, what have you got to say for yourself about this situation?
Sneeze, how do you respond?
So Aya says that, or
No.
she's just standing there waiting? Okay, because
Freya's just, or she's levitating in the air, going with blue anger and waiting for your response.
oh, but you are visible then.
Yeah.
Oh, very visible. Yeah, glowing blue.
Okay, sure. Because otherwise, I would have just started a fight with these orcs, assuming they were messing with me. Yeah. So Sneeze will eventually sort of realize you're there and look up and just sort of stare, and on his shoulder, Sniff look up and go, "Hey, boss, it's one of them." And Sneeze will just sigh and start trudging towards the glowing little girl in the sky. Oh, sorry, boy. A is the boy.
No, Freya. This is Freya. It was the
Freya?
girl.
Oh, just Freya? Yeah,
Right.
okay, cool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Aya says, it is fortuitous you found us, as the eclipse is but 2 days away, and grabs Freya's hand to help her down from her levitating state, as her like blue aura sort of retracts in through her eyes.
Yeah. This is what I do. Yeah.
Freya says, Aya, there's no point, and shakes her head. And starts walking back towards the Fellowship.
Sneeze, as you follow behind, you arrive at the camp where you see the rest of the Fellowship. Komodo dragon, real dragon, the spider. We do have our squire there, who's probably the one who has made the campfire and put all the pots and such like there to make your tea. So Vero and Theth, you see Sneeze and Sniff arrive. Say anything there, Vero?
I think Vera just has kind of an, oh, you're back. And that's about it. Because just watching, like, was clearly observing this from a distance, blue glowy thing, but hasn't decided to move to do anything about it, which is typical for Vero.
Theth, any comments as your companion arrives?
Yeah, we'll give a nice big yawn from the inside of the campfire and say, "It's good you're here. We're needing more forces."
And this is probably when you first look down, Sneeze, and see that vast army made camp around the lake.
Well, what are they going to do when I'm done?
That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
Well, with the Fellowship reunited and the fire going, it's probably, time to start making a bit of plans. What I'd like for us to do is we're going to have, as I said, that bond building sort of moment so that we can hear a little bit about what the other members of the Fellowship have for bonds for Sneeze. But as we're doing that, let's intersperse it a little bit with, deciding how we're going to face this pretty tremendously huge force. Despite Sneeze's bravado, this would not be a good idea to frontally assault, more than likely. So why don't we start? Let's start with you, Theth. Look over your bonds, and as you're kind of thinking up how to deal with this, why don't we hear from one of your bonds, something that you and Sneeze have in common, something that is a bond between the two of you.
Oh, did you mean looking through the ones on the character? Wait, sorry.
Or you can make one up completely on your own.
Oh, right. Give me a second. See, there's one that says blank shares my burning passion, but I just want to kind of like take out the passion and replace it with bravado.
That sounds excellent. That sounds perfect. So why don't we have a little moment between the two of you as you interact? What are you saying to, what are we seeing out of Theth and Sneeze that reinforces that in how you're wanting to deal with this army?
I mean, Sneeze has just given us the perfect plan. That's a great idea, Sneeze. I mean, you may need to think more about, what you can do personally, but don't worry, because I'm here. And I will fix everything. Let's do this.
All right. Well, Vero, you're seeing your two companions there who seem all for just taking on this army with, no difficulty at all. What are your thoughts on that? And maybe express something of a bond you have with Sneeze there. What do you say to their plan?
Rather than charging in, we should lay an ambush for them. That way we can draw them in and trap them, and you can finish them off at your leisure. And I think that Sneeze understands me like no one else does, because Sneeze actually has some background knowledge of spiders.
Cool. Excellent. Good bond. And you're sort of counseling a little caution and maybe a bit of trickery. A spider is known for that.
Spiders never do trickery. I mean, how dare you say that? We're just ahead of you.
Aya, Freya, you're hearing two very different approaches. Well, what's the wisdom of the pair, and maybe a bond coming back towards Sneeze?
Aya contributes that these insect-like creatures are perhaps drawn to some sort of flame or light, much like the moths we know. I know we have good source of both. I am in agreement with Vero on this one. And I think the bond with Sneeze is Sneeze and I have shared inglorious victory. Because I think on the battlefield, perhaps more in sync with Aya and Freya than in conversation.
I think that's cool. I think that's a neat idea. Sneeze, why don't you tell us one of those? What did you three fight together in glorious combat and completely just work in tandem so well to defeat?
I want to say a Hydra.
Ooh, that's a good thing to defeat.
Because I feel like Aya and Freya are very mobile, and I'm not. So I'm good at holding attention, and they can do all the damage.
Awesome. Oh, I definitely see that fight. I could so very see how that fight went. All right. Well, So we've had this, we've now built some bonds here with these, and we've had this little discussion, which we seem, to be kind of split off 2 to 2 on how we want to approach things. Sebastian is going to be quiet because he ain't here, but probably if he were, would be counseling a little towards more caution. But he's going to just sort of and continue making tea. So, hash out amongst yourselves. If you're wanting to cause to bring them in and trap them, how would that be going about? Or if you're going in and fighting straight up, how would you, other than charging madly across the plane at them, what is your plan there? But yes, let's just free talk on that.
Look, I understand you're scared, and I would be too if I wasn't me. So, if you want to set up a trap that has me in the center, fighting all of them, I am more than happy. I am nothing if not gracious, benevolent, and magnificent.
Of course, as all the great old dragons are.
Your mastery over fire cannot be denied. I'm suggesting that could be to our advantage.
So if we make a really big fire, they might just fly in and kill themselves. That's the entire of his.
But then we have a really big fire, and
everything's great. We get it.
I see.
I mean, do you want to start a really big fire? Because I can start a really big fire.
What I'm suggesting is that we use a fiery presence to draw them into an ambush.
I like it.
Then we are 3 of us agreed. Sneeze.
As long as I get to eat some of them.
I think there'll be plenty for both of us to eat some of them.
Both? You wound me.
I would not presume to say that you would eat them as well, but of course, you can eat whatever you want.
I wasn't asking for your permission.
Oh, how I love this fellowship. They may not.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say they may not be the heroes we want, but they're the heroes we deserve. Yes. So, Haley, you were saying.
Oh, I was saying Iron Freya are already doing something else. They're already preparing for the ambush.
All right, then. So if we're thinking an ambush, maybe trying to draw some of them up to you, which, it's a good size army. Bringing them all up here could be inconvenient, but certainly trying to bring some off and, whittle down the forces, maybe even get a prisoner you can find something out from, that sort of thing. And we're saying that thinking of some sort of fiery cataclysmic thing going on that will draw them to it, and perhaps leaving traps to ambush them and get these folks.
Always leaving traps, obviously.
Well, then I think we have a plan. So, sounds like you're going to go and look for a good spot where you can set up an ambush. And with that in mind, why don't we have... Let's... Oops, there we go. Why don't we have one of you do a look closely to kind of survey this area or have a couple of you working together. But who do we think is our person to go and scout out the ambush area?
I mean, if I scout it, I get a free web on it, but I don't know if other people are especially good at looking closely or get nifty benefits. Yeah, we're not going to send the glow stick to go scout, probably.
I can ask a question without rolling.
Oh, that's nice. Well, how about how about we have the two of you go down and look. You'll get a free question, and then since you're there to help, that'll let Ryan, that'll let Vero roll in hopes that y'all have reciprocating bonds.
Yay! And yeah, definitely some of the dark, spooky people.
So we'll start with you, Sneeze. And as I said, these are really big, open-ended sort of questions. They could be, they cover a lot. So what would you like to ask?
Is something hidden or out of place? If so, what looks suspicious?
Ooh, good question. As you're moving through the foothills, the ravines coming down from these mountains, you find where the army had sent up some, had sent scouts out in this area to look and check out things. And you could see where they had set up their own sort of ambush spot. As you're looking down there, you catch before they manage to see you that there are about 3 of these. There are 3, not about. There are 3 of these soldiers, and they have a very insectoid-looking face. They have the sort of mandible front end. They're covered in that chitinous armor. Over the top of it is, they have a kind of an Asian look to them. They have the large straw hats that come across. They wear garish colors to their clothing around over this chitin. And so maybe that's why you were able to see them without them seeing you. But you could see that they had laid their own little entryway coming down from the mountains trap for anyone going through the pass. So that to answer that question of yours, Ryan, why don't you look closely, and you're rolling in hope, so you're rolling 3 die, take the 2 best.
Whoop.
Oh, and I did put up a roll for our party if folks saw in the chat there.
So taking the 2 best, that's 11.
Oh, fantastic. So you have 3 questions on there.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about them. What are they doing and what will they do next?
Looking at these that are have set their own little ambush up, they are very still, seem to be waiting very patiently, and looking further out across the fields at the army itself. You can see they've very nearly completed this rampart into the lake, and amongst their, remember I told you they have those kind of like daub bowl structures they've made for them to bivouac in. Mm-hmm. You can see that they're clustering around and doing this sort of swirl around one of the larger ones. You get the impression something is about to happen there. Probably their leader is going to come out.
So what will happen if I set up an ambush here?
You're probably sneaky enough and have the drop on them sufficiently that you could set up this counter ambush and draw them to it pretty easily. If you do it in a way that, they see and think it's worth noting that, something's going on, they move towards it. They may also signal back to the army in general before they move up. So, it's very likely that they, if they think it's a real danger, will alert the army down there, and that will call reinforcements. So,
okay. And tell me about their ambush trap. How could it hurt me, and how could it help me? Either or both.
They've set up a series of rock falls along this pathway. You personally would have very little trouble climbing around over it. Some of the others, though, it's rough going, so they would probably go through the path and they could collapse these rocks down on it. But how could it help you? It's rather precariously set. Someone, setting it off would probably surprise them, and very likely, they might get caught, at least some of them, in the rock fall themselves.
Okay. I'm going to relay this mostly to Sneeze, saying that, I feel like we could set up a trap here probably, and we'd lure a lot of them in fairly easily, although there's always the chance that they'll ask and they'll call for the army as reinforcements. But you're prepared to fight an army, right?
Always. I can push the rock too.
Yes. We may want to use those rocks. They've set up a perfectly good trap. It would be a shame not to use it.
All right, then. Well, are you wanting to try and draw them up? Are you setting a trap for them, Vera?
I want to prepare this area for an ambush with my web spinning.
Excellent. And so, doing that, I think you will make a roll with your sense.
And I assume that I can't roll and hope with this because probably the orc isn't helping.
It depends. Sneeze, can you think of a way you could help the spiders spin their web to cause this trap to go off?
Can I act as a point of tension?
Like an anchor for the webs?
Yeah. Or like hold on to something to keep it taut so that it's going to be more effective while she's finishing actually creating the web.
I think that could work. Does that sound good to you, Vera?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right, sounds like you're rolling in hope then.
Oh my goodness, which means that this is a 13 to making a trap.
Yowza. All right, then. Well, with, of course, this is the last one I got to. Okay, so you gain 2 webs there. When an enemy in the prepared area makes a move against you, you could spin a web to trigger a trap on them before they can make that move. And you get to choose at that point what happens, which is nice. So, are you, the 2 of you, planning to do this without alerting the rest of your crew? You're figuring you're going to handle these 3 that are here and come back in triumph? Or are you going to go ahead and let the rest of the fellowship know what's going on?
Now that I've set up my ambush, I'm going to go tell them what's going on. I just didn't want to tell them the plan ahead of time because Amenetheth is very good at many things, but waiting patiently while I set my traps isn't necessarily one of them.
Okay. So
Really
you leave Sneeze there kind of anchored up and waiting with the trap prepared as you rush back and skitter up to the mountains back to the camp. Let them know.
And I'll relay pretty much the same thing, that, yeah, they've got a rock fall trap that we could probably make good use of. I've set up an ambush spot and Sneeze is waiting there. There's a chance that they'll call for the army to back it up, but between Sneeze and Amenetheth, yeah, that's not going to be an issue.
Right, so I want to make certain they call the army. Yes?
If we
That
can
is one
catch-
choice we could make, yes.
Perhaps you can set a light and either try to escape to warn the others.
Well, I mean,
Just an option.
it's night. I doubt burning them alive is the epitome of subtle. But there's boulders. I'll work with what I've got.
Yeah, and you've been traveling with Vero for a while. You probably know that she's just planning this around the group. Like, there's no way they're going to be totally subtle. This is not going to be a good spider trap. How can I work around the fact that everyone's going to be on fire in a minute?
All right, then. Sounds like the Fellowship moves down to the, where they could see the three of the endless that are there. And probably it is you, Theth, that will draw their attention.
Yeah, I mean, first I will very stealthily pick up a boulder. And then I'll just hurl it at them.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. You hurl down this boulder in their direction. Why don't we have you roll I think that's probably going to be an overcome roll with blood. As you're attempting to you're kind of trying to prevent their trap from going off and bringing them to yours. And a good solid roll could probably help you in that.
That was plus blood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is a 10.
Oh, excellent. So you hurl this boulder down there, which does get their attention. And they look up to see you there. This boulder smashing down, and kind of one of them slides down into the ravine from the side, having been, startled. But three of them, and they begin moving up the ravine towards you, not seeing the rest of them, with your very, excellent distraction to catch their attention. And so the first of them, they come running into your prepared area there, Vero. What happens?
I don't think anything happens just yet, because it does say that when they make a move against me, that then the trap triggers before they can. So
okay,
this is not a trap at all. Everything's going awesome for them.
So they come rushing up towards you, Theth, and you can see that they've got their weapons out. They have these. They look organic. I think I mentioned they have a very katana-like look to them, but they're like it's a piece of a bug. It's that solid chitin type material in the form of a sword. And as they come rushing up straight towards you, Theth, I'm going to give you the opportunity here, if you'd like, to keep them busy, because they're going to try and attack you here in a moment, but I'm going to let you keep them busy to keep them from, overwhelming you. So you'll be rolling with courage.
I'm super courageous. That is another 10.
Goodness gracious, your roll is so good. Well, they're coming up and they're swinging at you, but, I mean, you're a dragon. You're twirling around. Your fire is up around you, and they're having difficulty getting in close. Freya,
around while cackling maniacally.
Freya, You see them, they're completely focused on Theth. What would you like to do?
Yeah, so Ira and Freya have this dual maneuver that they do, where they sort of like run and like hover over to either side of somebody and then like slice their blades in opposite directions, so that if the person they're intending to hit lifts their shield or moves their shield one way, then the other person can take advantage of that movement to cut them from the other direction.
Ooh, fantastic.
So I suppose that's what they're going to do, to try and just pick off the one that's close to them.
I think that's going to give you a finish them. Do you feel like that this is working in grace, since you'll have such a, such a kind of finesse-oriented sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Roll with grace.
And they roll and hope when they work together as well. Okay, that's 14.
Oh my goodness. Describe to me how it looks as you completely massacre this one that you come at.
I think it's very swift and efficient. Like, it takes only a split second after this creature has engaged the dragon, and suddenly, like, crossing like a fair amount of ground at a very quick pace. They're just there, and the thing is, like, I think they cut it, because it's an insect, I think they cut it clean in half, and like one half just sort of like topples over onto the ground, and they're already looking for the next movement.
Black ichor just flies from the remains of this body as it collapses. The other two hardly even notice their fellow, though, that has collapsed there, as they are really focused on theft, but they also just, that they saw it. It's just like they don't care, like they have no concern for their comrade. One of them that is fighting you, Theth, has gotten in a little close, and you're battling it, while the other has circled around and is coming up rather close to you, Vero, at this point. You got a feeling that he's going to notice you. It's going to notice you. I would say this is sufficient if you wish to trigger one of your traps.
Yeah. Then, yes, I will spend one of my webs to manipulate that rock fall, causing that to kind of fall down on them.
Excellent.
And since I have the Weaver specialty, that can affect multiple people if it would work.
Oh, cool. Why don't we roll
all
then?
The traps can be area of effect.
Let's roll here to finish them. And since we have Sneeze there holding the other side of your trap and kind of and assisting you in this, I think you could roll in hope.
Cool.
I'm giving out a lot of hope. That won't happen all the time.
Let's see. And what am I finishing them with? Oh, probably sense, because I had a plan.
Right. Yep, you get your choice there, but that makes perfect sense.
So that's a 14.
Goodness gracious. This rockfall. And I'm going to give you an option here. Do you catch them both? Does this kill them both? Or do you want one of them to just be trapped under it and you've caught them alive?
Let's definitely catch one alive.
All right. So as this rockfall collapses, one of them, you can hear the stepping on a roach sort of sound of crunch as it is caught underneath the rocks. The other one, though, is trapped halfway under it. And you can, in its kind of chittering, you can hear a little speech, a bit of language as it's, devour you, kill you, I will kill you. But it is definitely trapped there. Do you move over to it? Or do any of you wish to move over to it? Or, Beth, are you just going to blast it in the face with some fire?
I mean, it's really tempting, but Vera seemed to have a plan. And I mean, it hurts. It really does. But
You are always welcome to ruin my plans. I mean, given that no one can tell you what to do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you have this one. This exact one. Never to be had again. Enjoy it.
I think that Vero is going to kind of spider scuttle over to make sure that it's trapped fairly well and everything before moving on.
All right. You could spin it up if you wanted to. Wrap it up.
I'll definitely spin it up.
That's so freaking. You get it wrapped in your web, and you've captured this person here, this Endless, and I think we're going to take our break. And when we come back, somebody'd like to do a speak softly with it, they can, or we can decide what we're going to do against the army further. So why don't we take 5 minutes, and we come on back here at about 20 till. All right? See y'all shortly. I saw you joined into Patrick's game. You and Alex both.
I am so excited about that. And yay, get to play with Alex and Lauren at the same time.
Yeah.
He's very excited to be running it. He's been working on it a lot.
Yeah, when he first mentioned it to me, I was going, I didn't know until now that this was exactly the game I wanted. So.
This will be the first thing he's ever run for Gauntlet, and honestly, he hasn't run a whole lot for anybody, so he's excited and nervous.
Double squared, psyched now.
I don't think it's ever possible to have a bad experience when you combine Monster Hearts and Wictive. And me and Lauren, of course.
Yeah, and the moves he made to adapt Wictive and Monster Hearts together seem really good, and they just kind of hum with Wictive type energy. So it's going to be awesome.
I think it's going to be good, too. I'm eager to see how it goes. I'll have to teach him how to set up the video hangouts so it can be taped. All right. Well, we're back. We have a captive here, well trussed up in spider silk. With you, Pharaoh, there with this Endless. And all of you are there, if you wish to interrogate him, that would be something like a speak softly, if somebody'd like to do that. But I do think that almost certainly it would be someone like, well, I don't know, Sneeze, you've kind of been standing there holding the trap, so you've probably got a good view down through the valley. And you notice that there's, and this camp is some distance away. I mean, it's a good 50 miles away, but you could see that there's something that's happened there. They've started swirling, and almost at the very moment that this all occurred.
Okay. Sneeze is going to plod up to the semi-crushed insectoid, and basically pierce one of his orc weapons, which is like a warhammer strapped to like an axe strapped to a sword, just like straight next to the head of it, and lean in real close so that it's overtaken by the pollen floating off it. And I want to use my move Smell Fear. So when I look closely at a person, so closely it makes them upset, uncomfortable, or scared, I may ask questions from both the Speak Softly and Look Closely lists, and can ask one more question than my roll would normally be allowed.
Oh, very cool. All right, then. So I suppose you'd still be doing the Speak Softly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. It's Look Closely. I roll Look Closely.
Okay. Sorry. So, yes, roll us a Look Closely, because as you do this thing it starts, and you could see its multiple eyes have swiveled over to you, and it's taken aback. This has scared it.
Cool. So I get a 9. So that's 3 questions.
Mm-hmm. So you get the extra one.
What can they tell us that's going on? What can they tell us about what's going on in the camp down below?
Yes, the Endless will come. They will take you. We will devour your bones. We shall suck your juices. We are legion. They hear my cries.
I don't have bones. I don't think that you do either, Sneeze. Vera just kind of calmly says, well, definitely trying to see if the squashed one is in a spot where she can get to it and web that up too.
Yeah. Sneeze looks at Vera and goes, do you really think they're endless? I hope so. What else do we want to know? I can ask 2 more questions from the Look Closely or the Speak Softly. Do we want to know what we should be wary of, or what they're going to do next?
Is there anything you could ask about, like, what they're planning to do with Mirror, or if they're like, what their plan is here?
Yeah,
That would
yeah,
be-
I could do that.
So what are they doing and what are they going to do next, maybe?
Yeah, or there's also look closely. Tell me about Varix. What are they doing? What will they do next? Same thing. Yeah.
Okay. It's the first of the endless Crixus. He's seen in the pool. He shall be powerful for the mistress. Our queen shall grow from his strength. We shall make a nest here where she will come, and all of your lands will be ours. He shall bathe in this pool, and power will be his. Ours!
And the last one is, what can they tell us about how long he'd live if I tore his upper body out from underneath the rock?
As you sort of kind of pull at him, without so many words, he pretty much is telling you, not very long.
I'm going to do so very slowly, so if anyone wants to stop me, there's the opportunity, but I am going to rip it in half.
Vero has no problem with this plan, but also Vero's standards are strange and should not be the guiding morality of the party.
You do you, Sneeze. You do you.
As you pull, there is that crunching sound and a bit of a slurp. As it separates out, black goo pours out as it lets out a high-pitched, chittery scream before it expires.
The last thing it sees is my mouth opening as I swallow it.
Oh, that's lovely. Across the plains, you hear that same chittery scream begin to rise up from the army. And you can see a whole swirl of them begin moving towards you.
I suppose you get your wish. The army is coming to us.
Good.
Nice.
I'm still hungry.
Me too, Vero says, still kind of scuttling around and kind of poking at the rocks, and that thing got squished. She's not strong enough to pull it back out again.
Oh, I can get that for you. Shove the boulder out of the way. Remember, we're splitting it.
And so the two of you could certainly try some endless goo if you'd like. I would say, if I were to guess, it's kind of nutty. But that's just guessing off of what crickets taste like.
Save some for flavoring.
Wow. So, as you take a moment to dine and digest both the information and your enemies, we can see that
Spiders don't waste good food.
there are probably 200 or 300 of them that are now marching across, and they're coming at good speed. Though, I mean, it's not like supernatural, insane speed, but you know, they have that look of ants, or you know, the army ant march that's just coming in your direction. A quick guess from a tactical mind would say they could probably make this distance in 5 or 6 hours pretty easily.
So, was there a part 2 to our plan, or am I carrying all of you out of here?
My part 2 was to, sit and wait until they come into my web, but that's always my plan, I suppose, and that tends not to be how we do things.
You just did things that way. What are you talking about?
Freya says, while I did not have enough time to examine the body, look at Sneeze, I would posit a guess that they are interconnected and able to communicate telepathically, in which case they're probably heading to the last location of the death. It could be that if we change direction, they will be unaware that we have moved and will continue heading to the spot. We may be able to loop around them.
I like that plan.
Unfortunately, glares at Sneeze again. It is merely a theory.
Sounds like a cunning plan to me. And so, unless objections, you follow and Freya's plan and again moving. Are you going to try and circle around and kind of head over towards where the camp is? You're trying to get in closer? Or are you trying to find another spot here in the foothills?
What's our, I guess, long-term intention?
Destroy army, bathe in pool. Defeat
So I assume
Overlord.
we're going to try and get closer to see whether we can essentially attack the camp when they're down 300 of these things, I guess.
Okay. Y'all begin setting off at a, kind of, around where they're coming in. As you're up in the foothills, it's not hard to see them moving across, but as you get down towards the valley itself and the trees, and, it's a pretty lush valley here. There aren't any villages in this area that you are, in. To the south, there are several really rather large towns. I'm not sure what's happened to them since this army's come through, but that they're down there. As you circle around and kind of have lost sight of them, you begin working your way. It's going to take you some time, and as you're kind of trying to make sure you're skirting them, they're moving directly, and so you spend some hours moving around, heading over towards the lake. And in fact, day will pass, and it'll be towards night, probably actually middle of night, by the time you come to the shore of the lake and you can look down it to see where the army has its camp. You see that large earthen rampart that's moved out into the lake. This time, it's kind of the first glimpse you've gotten back of the camp since you, had left the foothills hours ago. You could see that the camp, that they've spread around it. They clearly recognize something has caused a problem. And they've, diffused. Keep a pickets around and to try and guard that general area. Good thing about that, they're not so concentrated. Bad thing about that is it does mean that getting closer to the camp, you have a high likelihood of running into some of them, and if they do communicate well, then one finding you could mean a bunch of them coming in on you. What would you like to do? Any thoughts there? Sneeze? Any suggestions?
Is there any artillery left at the base?
You see that they don't seem to have artillery, but you are, now that you're closer in, you do see that they have some rather larger bug-type creatures, like beetles. Some of them have packs on them, but others of them you see are doing the daubing work to make these structures, and a couple of them are quite larger than the others. And as you're looking down, you see one of them kind of give a little blurb, and out from its rump, a bit of smoke and flame sort of out.
How big are the ones that are So that smoke, I'm thinking that might be explodable. Or alternatively, we could try and get a rampage from the beetles going through the camp.
That's possible. There's, for this camp, there's maybe 100 of these beetles. You hadn't noticed them from a distance because, they almost looked like the structures, and they were, they're not quick, so they, it was hard to tell them from like the more static structures of the area. But yeah, it certainly seems to have an explosive hiney, so something in there is volatile.
Theth can't fly, can they?
They can.
Oh.
So I mean, I'm certainly down to test some things out.
Sneeze will point at the big ones blowing fire, looking at Theth, and go, bada bing, bada boom. And Sniff on the shoulder goes, go boom boom.
He'll just hold a scaled fist out for a fist pump.
A really slow fist comes back.
All right then, Theth, are you thinking of taking to the air and maybe sending a fireball in at one of these? And Vero and Aya and Freya, you're hearing this plan. What are your thoughts on this going on?
I knew they could only wait for plans for so long. So Vera's just kind of resigned.
I just wanted to reiterate my question that's in the chat.
I'm
just
sorry.
to ask whether how much narrative control we have about stuff, or whether we basically can't do stuff unless a move says that you can do it.
You can feel free to give the kind of the flavor, the skinning of all the things. You should keep yourself confined kind of to what moves are, at least in spirit. In the sense of if our dragon could shoot a fireball out of her mouth because there's that move there. It is less likely that you're able to throw a fireball, but you can flavor what you can do with the things you have in your move.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Theth, you gonna fly over there and cause havoc?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting some voices to call out as I was taking my run up, but no, roll clear for takeoff.
All right. Well,
Hero knows that she cannot tell you what to do, and would not presume to tell you not to go throw fireballs. So, yeah.
All right.
Too well.
So you take to the air, and it's again we're talking 10 miles up the river, up the lake shore as you fly over there, and you can see beneath you this army has spread out a good bit. And as you reach towards the camp, you're gonna unload on one of those beetles. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
All right. I think, let me pull up that dragon real quick. You're going to be doing your.
I think it's one of my weapons.
Yes, that's what it is. One of your gear. So, I think I'm going to have you do an overcome, probably with blood on that, as you're trying to flame up one of these beetles.
Sounds good. Oh, no, I can't see what it is. Wait.
4 and a 3.
that mine or is the other red mine?
Oh, maybe I'm not looking at the right one. Oh, there
They're
you
all
are.
red, and there's a
Yes.
6, and then one hidden behind the 4. And I
All
can't
right.
see what it is.
It's a 3.
The 3. Okay,
So-
so that's 11.
Ooh, oh Lord have mercy! Gosh, y'all are rolling so good. You blast it. This ball of fire you spit out smacks into this beetle, and the volatile liquids within it catch as it just erupts into flame, catching several of the endless that are around it in the explosion, and they begin. However, you know, they do look up and see where this fireball has come from, and you see striding out of that larger structure a figure much bigger than the other endless, at least 7 foot tall. He is in this, you know, has the chitin all over him, but it is iridescent, almost mirrored, pearlescent coating. And even in the darkness, it catches the starlight and the moonlight on it. It seems to just flare with this sort of unnatural light. He looks directly in your up towards you. You can see, even from up here, the maniacal, evil glare that he gives you. He reaches back behind him, and he pulls out an enormous bow. What would you like to do?
I mean, I'm not afraid or anything, but I wouldn't want my fellows to miss out on this. So I might go back to tell them what's happened.
As you turn, why don't we do a getaway for you there?
Sounds good.
Rolling with grace.
Oh, no.
Can I possibly keep them busy by screaming and doing the equivalent of running?
Running over into that direction, screaming?
Yeah, well, not really running because I don't move that quickly, but yes.
I would let me have her roll her getaway to see if she could get away from Crixus. We'll have you handling kind of the multitude of endless that are going to try and follow behind.
Ah, cool.
Sound good? All right. So how did you roll on that getaway?
1 total.
Oh my. He draws back the bow, sends it streaking up towards you, and you feel a burning as it passes into your shoulder. You're going to get damaged. If you have armor, you could take armor. If not, you need to mark one of your stats as damaged.
I do have armor.
Oh, in that case, you should mark a usage of your armor.
My armor is. Oh, right, protective fire. So as this bolt fires into Theft's side, as soon as it pierces the skin, there's just this supernova explosion that just blasts it back. This great inferno.
Wonderful. Oh, that's so good. So you're rushing away, but you see the starburst of this arrow going up in flames. As you sneeze, you're following, you know, kind of going to meet Theft. And there is just now this horde of these things pouring towards you. Now, to keep busy, there is certain playbooks have the ability to keep multiple things busy, like a giant. You are not a giant. However, you can try to do, in this idea of keeping them busy, would be more along, you're trying to pull them over towards you. Maybe then giving a chance for Theth to make it back to the group, and the rest of the group to come up towards you, if that's the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll stick to that.
All right.
This huge bellow that sounds like a foghorn.
All right. I like it. Let's roll with courage then.
Yep.
I need to clear some stuff out.
Sorry, give me a second, try and get this to. I think I accidentally did it twice, but I think the first two is the 1 and 4.
All right.
Courage, which will be a 6.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to clear off some of our dice here because we've got a lot of them at the moment.
That's what I did wrong. There we go.
I'm going to just clear some dice out. And delete selected. There. We cleared some dice off, and we'll get a chance there to roll some rumble. Yeah. So, well, you come roaring out there with the intent to kind of draw them away from where Theth is trying to get back to the group. And you succeed in getting quite a few of them, in fact, heading in your direction. The rush of them as they're crushing through the underbrush. And even you might suddenly realize, I'm out here kind of alone, and there's a lot of them. As they move in and begin and surround you, and begin hacking towards you. I'm going to need you to pay a price as they come in to begin the, kind of backing up, keeping them at bay. Paying a price is using an item to explain how you use it. It could be one of your weapons where you're holding them back, or you could choose to damage yourself if you wish to do that as well. But what do you use to keep them from, stabbing you to death?
I'm going to use something I found over there somewhere.
One of your useful items?
Yep.
All right. So what is it? What is the thing you found over there that you're able to distract them and hold them at bay? What was that thing?
So I pull out a jar that at first looks like it's filled with gold. And you go to smash it over the head of one of the insects. And it turns out what looks like gold was actually filled with glitter. And the glitter sprays everywhere, blinding everything around me.
Oh, I like it. So, it sprays everywhere. They kind of, and you see there's kind of just striking out at it. And momentarily blinded by this, it seemed like they don't know what the hell this is. They're afraid it's something that they're going to have to attack. Vero, your one of your friends is streaking back towards you. The other, you can hear roaming out in the distance and the sound of battle. What are you doing?
I'm scuttling closer and probably looking closely at the area in which Sneeze finds himself so that I can set some traps on the fly since I didn't get to bring an ambush.
Okay. Roll it so it looks closely.
That's a 13. I remain awesome.
You do remain awesome.
Clearly, this is not going to come back to bite me later.
All right.
So I guess the pressing question is, what's going on here, and what do my senses tell me?
There are a good 200 of these endless that are moving in the direction of the Fellowship. beginning edges of it have made it to sneeze, and that's 10 or so, but there is a whole mess of them coming up behind them. And despite your valor, this is not going to be good. It seems unlikely that the 4 of you will do well against 200 of these endless.
True. Although, I now have 1 web on this area, and I can affect any number of targets in the prepared area.
That's true.
So I am setting up the catch so that anyone who enters this area's arm or leg will be caught and immobilized. And the next time they try something, I can manipulate them as if I had a manipulate web on them.
Oh, nice.
So Vero launches in and just starts kind of spinning back and forth, like nothing's really catching her attention, until there's this big sticky web sort of centered on Sneeze, and anything that comes for him is going to get trapped in it.
Cool. All right. And Freya, what are you two doing?
Ira and Freya are going to try and get away and slip out of sight towards the lake.
Neat. Okay, let's roll a getaway then, as you're trying to sneak your way around without the endless seeing you.
That is a 7.
All right. You can choose one. You get there quickly, avoiding any harm. You get there quietly, drawing no attention, or you grab someone nearby and bring them along.
They would like to get there quietly.
All right. You skirt this area, the 2 of you, moving through the trees and underbrush. A few of them pass close by, but you're small and lithe and ever so sneaky. And so, moving through, heading up along the lake side, you could see that the camp is fairly empty now. I mean, fairly empty compared to what it was. There's still several dozen milling about, and you could see walking now across that rampart is that big guy in his armor, and it is shining. And as you look at it, catches your eye. It's almost like you're falling into it. Like it's mesmerizing to look at. You rolled me an overcome as you feel yourself drawn to it, like it's calling you.
That's with blood, right?
Yes. Well, it could be with anything, but I think probably with blood in this one.
Okay. That is a 9.
So I'm going to give you a little choice here. Or you can choose to pay a price. Is that right? Hang on, let me look at that, make sure. Yes. You can choose to pay a price and get the 10 plus result. And I'll give you what I'm offering you, and then you can decide if you want to pay the price. You have the option of course, going over there to, walking out and going to him. Or you can kind of hold yourself steady, but you're going to be kind of caught in it and immobile as you're just staring at him. Or you can pay a price and get that 10 result and be fully in your faculties.
I think they'll pay a price. And I think what it will be is, just looking at the stuff. How does it work again with your animal companions?
You can choose to damage a stat on your animal companion. and explain how they've helped you.
Yes, I think I will do that. I think I will use fetch, because I think like Ire and Freya are drawn into this deep glowing armor, and they're unable to snap out of it until they're like, I think Chew, the little blue animal attack dog, is like drawn to this armor also, but cannot resist the urge, does not resist the urge to run towards it. And so like shoots out of the other side of the forest so they don't get detected, and like races towards Crypsis, or what's his name? Is Crypsis? Crixus races towards Crixus with this little like arf, arf, arf. Like cutting across through Ira and Frey's vision and just giving them like that moment to snap out of the glare of the armor and sort of like look over at Chew running towards this giant thing like, oh boy. We can't stop now, we've got to keep going.
Excellent. All right, as you snap out and you see your dog running up the causeway towards Crixus, who kind of stops and is looking at it like, what the hell is this thing coming towards me? And we see the other Endless sort of kind of see it going there, and they've kind of moved up to the causeway and are kind of following behind your dog, as Crixus looks, again, surprised and pulls his sword, looking at it, thinking it might be something dangerous, which, in a way it is, and is kind of backing towards the end of the causeway. It's not like he's scared, more like he just may not have seen something quite like this before. As you continue skirting around the edge, the Endless, who are collapsing around you, Sneeze, had been momentarily blinded, and you had kind of gotten pulled back, and Pharaoh had set their trap. Pharaoh, your trap is just going to automatically catch them, isn't it? I mean, when they come in,
Yeah, their leg or arm becomes caught and immobilized. And the next time they try something, I can manipulate them. That's all it says. So,
all right. So this swarm of, good 40 of them come rushing in straight towards you, Sneeze. And as they get close, they're kind of slowing down, and their legs are getting caught up in, and they're sprawling out as they've become caught in this web. They're in front of you. What do you do?
I'm assuming I would also get caught in the web if I run into that.
I definitely intended to not catch you, but I guess it's up to the GM whether I can properly lay out, non-sticky guide webs around you, or whether you get stuck. Given that my move does not clarify that.
It does. It says when an enemy. And this Sneeze is not an enemy, so you can in fact have left paths for him.
So there's totally webs around you, but there's the non-sticky parts that I would normally walk along, and you probably can guide along if you want.
I do know spiders. Yeah, it would be... So there's not much fun in killing something that can't fight back. So Sneeze is still swinging an orcish weapon as he's walking past, but for the most part, he's just walking over top of the immobilized insectoids to get through to the ones on the other side and the camp where he can actually fight something.
Okay. So you're moving around the ones caught and heading in towards the camp itself.
Yeah.
Theth, you're above, and you now see that about 40 of these endless are sprawled out, caught, I almost imagine like those spiders that do the, like when you first wake up in the morning and you look out and there's all the spider webs with the dew on it across the grass. It just looks like a veil that's laid across the grass all over the place. I got this sort of imagining of that. But Theth, you see them there struggling on the ground. What would you like to do?
Well, I mean, I've been traveling with Vera for a while now. And I mean, I've got some fire. There's a whole bunch of people stuck there. I'm as dangerous as can be. I might roast some insects.
All right. Why don't we have you roll a finish them, since you certainly have an advantage coming from these webs.
Nice.
Probably going to be with your blood, since you're using your innate talents of your people.
Sounds good. It is a 12.
Darn y'all. Your fireball goes down there, and sort of as it hits the ground, it spreads across this web, which just comes up in this inferno, and it's just a mass of fire that rises up. We can hear their insecti-chitin popping like popcorn as they're roasted inside of it, their juices exploding in steam, as they are just incinerated. And it makes a big, huge glow, which you, I and Freya, you could definitely see up there on that causeway now. Crixus has noticed that something is not good. This is not going according to plan. And he raises up his, kind of his head and lets out this high-pitched sort of squeal. And all those endless that are around begin rushing back towards the camp as Crixus reaches the edge of the causeway and just drops off into the lake and disappears down inside of it. What do you do?
Well, they're all heading back to the area that we so carefully snuck around to. The sneaking isn't going to be very effective.
You've not been spotted yet, though.
Yes. So, depending on whether or not I'm allowed to say stuff like this, Ira and Frey suspect that there might, in order to take advantage of bathing in the water in the eclipse, you need certain magical ingredients. And their plan essentially was to sneak into camp and try and detect, to find these magical ingredients and take them.
Okay. All right then. So sounds like you're still trying to infiltrate into that camp. A good thought would be inside of his big structure. If anybody'd have them, it would be.
Yeah. I'm just wondering about physically, is it there's no way it's kind of swarming with them, or is it if you made a really quick dash, you might be able to get there? Because if it's heroic, I will do it, but if it's suicidal, I will not.
I would say, because of course y'all are amazing, super, the greatest heroes the world has to offer. You have the potential to get through undetected. We'll see how that roll goes.
Yes, of course.
But yes, you certainly would have the means to, dip and hide and getting into just the right spots. So if you wish to do that, that sounds like a getaway being used to try and sneak some more.
Yes, I will. Okay, that is a 14. So if I'm allowed to dress that up,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they physically step into each other so that the two of them compress down to the size of one person. And then like take on that blue ethereal glow so that it's like hard to detect them when the sunlight sort of goes through them, and it kind of just looks like a weird like hovering blue glow in the air.
Okay.
They quickly move through the camp.
And indeed, it's gotten late enough that we are starting to see the glow of dawn. We know the eclipse is the following night. This glow of dawn as you sneak into the camp and make it to the main structure where he had come out of, and sneaking inside. As you get inside the doorway, it's very quiet in there. There is the faintest of little green lights that it takes you a moment to realize are bugs about that long, giving off a greenish light from their abdomen that's lighting the interior here. You see that there are pillows, probably where he sat. You see that there is a table set up where he has writing instruments on it. You could see that he has some chests and various things in here that, would be set for him. You also see that there are two about 3 foot long, look like grubs, that as you come in sort of undulate around. They're moving inside of this place. They don't seem to have noticed you. They don't have visible eyes, but they don't seem to notice you. But you see them undulating along. You also see on this table that indeed there are the materials of magic. What does that look like?
I think that they are... I think that they are essences. They're actually like smells and like residues. You have to store them in glass vials and things like that. Otherwise they'll go away, and some of them like don't have any color to them. So sometimes it just looks like you've got a whole row of empty glass vials. Gotta hope they're labeled properly.
Okay. And you see this arrayed there, but you can see that some of them are missing. Some of the holders are empty, meaning he very well may have taken the things he needed. He brought extras or whatever, but he may have what he needs when he jumped into that lake. But there are more, so that you could take and have the stuff to do it yourself as well if you wanted. Do you wish to grab these up?
I will grab them on the off chance that Crixus hasn't taken everything that he needs, and Freya will try and grab any... Is there any written correspondence? Because you mentioned writing implements and stuff like that.
Yes, you see that he has paper and an inkwell, and beside it he has a vellum book. And you see it's open, and there is, strange writing. You don't recognize the writing. It would take some study, but you do see that things have been written.
Yeah. Yeah. So Freya grabs all of that.
All right. You grab it up. Meanwhile, Sneeze, you have kind of, you've been making a beeline up the coast, getting to where, now there are hundreds of these endless that are surrounding the camp and have kind of cut off the access to go out the rampart. What would you like to do?
So there's a rampart and they're physically blocked my way in, or
the causeway that they built. They're trying to keep people from being able to go out and follow Crixus out into the middle of the lake. So they've formed up in the camp, and at the where the shore and the causeway goes out into the middle of the lake that he was walking down, they're standing in front of it, guarding it so nobody could go follow him out into the middle of the lake.
Okay. So I am a giant mushroom. So I imagine I'm pretty good at digging.
Okay.
Could I just dig under them and travel that way?
I think you could certainly give it a shot. I'll let you roll that as either an overcome with blood or a getaway, which is a grace.
Oh, absolutely overcome.
All right. Roll it up.
Seven. Oof.
All right. You begin moving underneath them, and your intention is to come up behind them and on the causeway? Or where would you like to come up?
Yeah, behind them would probably be the only other place I would think would be to come out literally at in the water.
All right. You have the option here. I'll tell you what's going to happen, and then you could choose if you wish to pay a price to get the 10 result. You're going to come up, but you're going to come up a little short at the 7 to 9. You will be behind the mass of them, but there will be a good 24 that you're coming up with right at the edge of the causeway. Or you could pay a price. You could come up behind them completely up on the causeway, and then if you wish, run down it towards where he jumped into the lake, or attack them from behind, whichever you'd rather.
No, I think Sneeze gets about halfway, stops, and thinks there's a better way to do this, and comes up in the middle of them. Excellent.
Well, as you come up, they're surprised, but there's a bunch of them. They are going to attack you, and so they're swarming in at you. You need to take a damage, either an armor or one of your stats.
I think what do I do with damage on the actual character?
What you'll do is next to your where it has your stats, you'll see there's a little box beside them. And so you would keep up with which one you've damaged, and you'll be rolling a despair with it. And once all of them are damaged, you're out. That doesn't necessarily mean you're dead. It means that you're out, and your comrades would have to rescue you. It may mean that you have to get some healing, or you could choose to Boromir at that moment and do your heroic death moment, and it does kill you. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're dead, but it does mean you're out. But yeah, cool. You damage 1.
I'm going to damage Grace.
All right. So they're just swarming around you as you popped up amongst them. I'm going to ask, what would you like to do? Are you wanting to lay about you, or do you have some other thing you're wanting to do, just so I know what you're thinking?
I think I want Sneeze to come up in the middle of them, look them all in the eye, and say something along the lines of, here's what's going to happen. The first one is going to die. The second one is going to die. The third one, going to die. Either you can wait for someone else to be the first one and get out of my way, or you're gonna die.
All right. I think that sounds like you're trying to talk sense to them.
Yep.
I think I'm going to say they're willing to listen because of the situation you have here. Are you appealing to their emotions? Is that what you're doing?
I was trying to detail my plan.
All right, then. Well, then roll with sense.
6.
Ooh. All right. Vero, you from your, where did you go after you set your traps? You've seen Sneeze running forward. You've seen the ones you trap just get incinerated, but there's a lot more of them.
I definitely got out of the way when I realized that Seth was going to fireball them, because I fully expected that would happen, and I don't take well to being on fire. So I've been scurrying along after after Sneeze, I think, although he went underwater, and I don't take well to water either. So probably watching from ashore.
Well, he dug underground and popped up amongst them in the camp now. So you can see, you can see that there are a couple of dozen of them that are just swarming onto Sneeze. And it may be striking you at this point, maybe we are not in a very good position any longer with somewhere in the range of 1,000 of these endless starting to come back in at the camp and your friend.
And as much as I hate to admit it, there are probably limits to how much web I can spin at one time.
So what would you like to do?
I think I want to go through the tunnel and attempt to grab Sneeze and get away.
All right, that sounds like a lovely plan. So you heading through the tunnel that Sneeze has made. Theth, from above, you can see where, I mean, it's like the forest is alive with these things coming in. And even for the great Amenemetheth, it may be that this is getting dangerous. And some of them, a couple of hundred, have taken out bows and are starting to fire up in your direction. What would you like to do?
Oh, geez, that is... I mean, it's not scary. Why would it be scary? But, yeah, probably a good idea to retreat for now. Is everyone, is this, we're all getting surrounded by this? Or?
Well, you're up in the air, so you're in okay shape. We definitely have Sneeze being surrounded, and from your vantage point, it don't look good for him. And you may have noticed, since you were around the area that Veros was in, Veros has gone underground, just disappeared down a hole. Y'all haven't seen Aya and Freya in a while. They've just, disappeared on y'all.
Well, I mean, I guess everyone's good to get away by themselves. You know, I want, an airlift, because otherwise I am making a tactical retreat out of here.
All right. Well, then, you, GT, get the fuck out there, and you start moving away at good speed as Sneeze around you. With that roll of yours, I'm afraid that they were not intimidated by what you said, and it seems as though, as one, they just swarm in at you, and these blades are flashing. I'd like for you to take one more damage as you feel from beneath you something grab you and pull you down.
Does that count as paying a price?
Actually, yeah, I'll let you pay a price rather than take a straight damage. You can pay a price if you have something in your equipment you'd rather use.
So I want to use Dishonor Before Death, which allows me to pay my price by breaking a weapon. Basically, I throw one of my orcish weapons. It's just like 5 weapons strapped together, and they break apart and just fly through the group.
All right. As you fling this thing out, your multi-weapons are catching their blades as hands grab your feet and pull you down back through the tunnel you came up. Pharaoh, roll me a getaway. Let's see how you do.
Oh no, I hope my luck holds. Okay.
Oh, this would be a good moment for that to fail, wouldn't it?
Well, the roll itself failed, but I am made of grace, so that's an 8.
8. All right. You get there quickly, avoiding any harm along the way. You get there quietly, drawing no attention. Or you grab somebody nearby and get away with this.
Yeah, so I'm taking that one.
All right. And so you grab Sneeze and pull him down and start scuttling back out the tunnel. I'm guessing to also make a tactical retreat. But you can hear above you a rhythmic stomping as the Endless, in their hundreds, are stomping on the ground. You can hear that chittering even through the earth as the tunnel begins to collapse around you. Pieces of rock smacking into you. You cover your friend, but one of these rocks does drop rather solidly on your thorax. I need for you to take a damage or an armor if you happen to have it. But you burst out of the hole. Behind you, the horde is coming, but you got a lot of legs, so you can really go scooting through the trees, following possibly the reddish streak of Theth as Theth is moving away. And you retreat back beyond them and try to find safety. And Freya, it's probably apparent to you as you pull these out. You can hear all of the noise of the Endless around you. What are you choosing to do?
So Aya and Freya make a quick exit from the building they are in, and surveying the situation. Aya turns to make a swift exit, but Freya looks down at the water and says, "We cannot leave it that way to be polluted." And Aya is sort of like, there is nothing we can do, sister. We must go. And then they get away, I guess.
All right. I think that since you've had 2 really good stealthy getaways, I'm going to let that carry over as you manage to sneak out. And so, with the chaos behind you, the Fellowship makes it back to the foothills after several hours, meeting back up. Beyond you in the valley, the Endless are searching, but, you're 4 people. You can find a moment of safety. It is now midday, and in the sun, you can see that the Endless are starting to make fires to burn out the area around their camp and where the causeway is, so that they'll have a better field of vision. And knowing now that someone quite dangerous is a threat here, you can see that they're much more armed and alert. From the lake, Crixus does not seem to come back up. You have not seen him rise again. And I think that's where we're going to stop. As it is midday, we're heading towards the eclipse, a mere 7 hours or so from now. Crixus, inside of the lake, perhaps with the things he needs. Of course, you also have these sorts of things you need. And I think that's where we're going to hold off. Yeah, I think that's going to be our little cliffhanger for the night. I had mentioned at one point, Brendan, you weren't here, that fighting is quite... It's often good to fight very focused, because with these big, huge battles, it's hard for a fellowship to fight big, huge battles. I think we're seeing here that, this massive army, that frontal assault might not be the best way to approach. But you did burn and kill a whole load of them. It's a shame they're called the Endless, because that does sort of imply something about them. But we're going to do our end of session questions, see how we are there. And we'll start next time with the Fellowship perhaps taking a different tact on how to deal with this threat. So, our end of session questions. Did we Did we save or protect a community in need? Not exactly. Did we strike a blow against the Overlord and their minions? I'd say yeah. I mean, y'all certainly went in there and hacked away at them. You have disrupted his plans and made him act a bit hastily. We're not sure if he has everything he needs. So y'all did, I think, manage to strike a blow here. He certainly noticed you were there. And did we learn something about the world and its people? I think there's a good argument for that. Y'all feel like we learned a bit more about these the Endless, that they kind of are connected. Any thoughts there? Everybody sound good on that?
We established the mushroom orcs too.
Oh, so yes. Like the mushroom orcs. So, we have as our options now, we have 2 yes answers. We can have, each fellowship can refresh 1 piece of gear to its full value. I know y'all use some gear, so you might feel like refreshing it. Each fellowship can choose 1 stat to heal. It doesn't necessarily mean it's theirs. I think some of you have taken some damage. What did you damage there, Ryan?
I damaged my wisdom, given that it's already not something Vero's very good at.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Or our other option is we can choose, you can choose one of your members to advance a level, and I would choose, because Brenda, you weren't here before, everything stays equal roughly. The first time around, they advanced Theth, and I advanced by Overlord. I can't advance by Overlord again until everybody's at 2nd level. So you guys will pick one, and then I'll pick one of you 2. Because I have to. I would choose me if I could, but I can't. So, of our 2 yeses, what would we like to pick for the first one?
I'm kind of down for gear, because I got some armor that I would like back at some point, but people want to heal other things. I'm totally cool with that too.
Yeah. My general inclination is just always advance all the time, but that's a bad plan. So
I will offer you, since you've made it back to relative safety, a chance to fill your bellies. And we can start our next time, or at least what I could say is, next time when we start, if you want, we can have a fill your belly moment as y'all decide what you're going to do. Doing that, you would mark off a food, and for each of you would then get to heal 1 stat if you wanted, and we'd have 1 extra stat if you're sharing the meal that someone could take. So you can keep that in your minds a little bit if you want to take something other than the healing. We got a nomination for gear. Feel like we want to use one of our yeses for that?
I mean, I don't need it, but I do kind of want to restore Theth's burning soul, because what is Theth going to do without that?
Yeah, I'm cool either way. There's a small blue dog who could benefit
from some healing. All right. Well, and of course we can, you can heal your companion with a fill your belly as well.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So sound like a gear? Want to do your first one as a gear? Okay. So each of you who has marked off any gear, you can choose one of the categories and replenish it completely. I know that, like I say, Theth, and I think that you also use some sneeze.
Yeah.
All right. If anybody else did, you can replenish. Then for our second yes, do we want to do an advance? Or do we want to do the heal? Or advancing's always fun. Haley has an advanced vote. Ryan?
I mean, like I said, I always vote for advance because more powers all the time.
All right. Sneeze?
Yep, advance.
All right. I see a nod out of you, Alex. All right, then. So I'll choose first. And I think I'm going to say I really liked what I and Freya did tonight. I'm going to give my advancement to them. Who would we like to give the other advance to from the group? Who would y'all like to choose? And it pretty much, it's either Sneeze or Vero.
I mean, I would vote for myself, but again, do not feel obligated to do what Vero wants.
I'll put another one down for Vera.
Okay. And,
I mean, in sheer numbers, you were the most, like, impressive with that webbing.
Although I didn't really kill anyone with the webbing. That was all Theth. But Theth already advanced and canned again.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
All right, then. So, Vero, you have advanced to second level. So you will be able to do one of your advancements on the chart. And we'll start next time with us in a camp, probably a cold camp, so that, I mean, other than the dragon, a cold camp, where you are filling your bellies and deciding how to face this. Again, you've made a small dent in this army, but there's an awful lot of them. And I'm sure there'll be a squire going, I could have told you. Why the hell did y'all run up into the middle of all of that? All right. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed it. It ended up being a lot of us kind of in this combat, and I want to try and avoid getting us mired down in combats too much, but I wanted us to see how combat goes and why. There's a reason that the Fellowship and Lord of the Rings didn't go and just attack Mordor. You know, you want to use your violence in particular focused ways. Though y'all were pretty damn impressive. I will say that. But again, I hope y'all enjoyed it. We will be back together in 1 week. Any questions? Any comments? Ryan, any questions or comments?
No questions, really. I mean, that was fun, and I loved the orc weapon. That's just a bunch of weapons strapped together to make one orc weapon. It's a really great idea.
Cool. Haley, any comments or questions?
No, yeah, kind of the same. I enjoyed the perilous teamwork.
Brendan, any comments or questions?
That was super fun. I liked feeling like Steve's pretty much bumbled through everything while everyone around him actually did stuff.
I thought that was cool too, and in a lot of ways, you know, you being there kept them being effective because you drew so much attention, which was cool. Alex, any comments or questions?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Really liking the team dynamics. Can't wait for next week.
Excellent. All right, then. So next week, my plan is for us to settle this issue I'd like for us to kind of really decide how we're doing it, and I'm probably going to have us hard frame through it so we can get through the combat, not be mired in it, get to what our objective is with clever planning, and then just kind of hitting the high points of what we're doing during the course of it. And then coming out of that and maybe having a real discussion amongst ourselves of, holy crap, this enemy is not like anything we've faced before. Kind of that bonding, coming together of, we're going to have to look at this a little differently than fighting the Hydra or defeating the, the carnivorous tribe of bugaboos that lived in the swamp and there were only 20 of them. Have that kind of, things are not going great, because again, that is a little bit of the feel for Fellowship. Is it's awful. The Overlord is terrible and very, very potent. To bring up something real quick, that armor that we saw on Crixus is the magic-y bit that he has from the Overlord. He has her stat of Flawless Chitin, which is both beautiful and terrible. So, I'm going to end the broadcast, thanking you all, and anyone who happened to watch, thank you for watching it, and have a lovely evening.